one of the first jobs you had, you were a radio host. How did you get into radio?
I was a spoken word poet.
Okay.
So I did like Def Poetry Jam when I was in college, and I would do slams and, all of that. And I ended up performing at a Jesse Jackson Rainbow Push benefit. And I just remember it being like pouring rain. And I still was like, no, I'm going to Rainbow Push to get there.
Right.
And there was a brother there, Ken Spellman, who gave me his card and was like, we should talk about you doing radio. But like, listen, brothers give you your card, give you their card.
You think it's something. You see,
you be like, all right. So I went back to purchase, and the card was sitting on my desk. And I hadn't called him. It was like a week. And my homegirl was sitting at my desk because she was like using my computer, and she was looking at the card. She was like, oh, wow, this office is at Rockefeller Center. And I was like, whose office is at Rockefeller Center? And she was like, the card that you have on your desk from, who's this card from? And I was like, oh, that's the guy I met at the benefit. She was like, I think this is legit. And I was like, huh. And I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't even realize this. I thought it was like Homeboy LLC. So I called him and he was like, I'd love for you to come to the radio and like, I want to interview you as a poet, etc. I didn't realize that when I went to the radio and he was interviewing me about poetry, he was actually interviewing me for the job. So I ended up getting a job as a radio host at Sirius, and I was hosting like these two stations that were kind of like just esoteric and all over the place and eclectic. And then I graduated. So that was in March of 2020. Oof. No, baby, that was in March of 2003.
Because I started at Sirius at 2004. I did radio for Sirius.
Okay. So I started there in 2003, and then 9 months later, so I've graduated now. I'm sitting in, actually, no, these two guys that were on the hip hop station, they were standing in their boss's office, but the office had two sections and they were in the front section. I had just peeked my head in to say hi. And they're like, oh, what's up? And they had like the Outkast album in front of them. Speaker Box Love Below was in front of them. And I was like, oh man, I love that album. They were like, yeah, we're supposed to interview them later today. We're really excited, but we really don't know a lot about Outkast. So I start going in because I'm an Outkast fan.
Right.
So I start going in. And while we're talking, their boss, who's on the other side of the cubicle, gets a call that they have to move the interview to the next day. So he's like, hey guys, they got to move the interview to tomorrow. And they're like, oh shit, we can't do it. We won't even be in town. And he's like, well, and he like knew of me because I was at Sirius. He was like, hey, you sound like you know a lot about Outkast. Do you want to do the interview? Yes. So that was my first interview. My very first interview was with Outkast.
Wow.
And yeah, like I love me some Outkast.
Right.
And so then I was at Sirius for a few years. And yeah, I don't want to tell another negative story, so
no,
then I wasn't. Then I wasn't at Sirius.
Right. What happened? You a magician because you will magically appear at a job and then you just disappear.
What other version of that is there?
I'm just saying.
That's actually the only job I got fired from. This is the only job I got fired from.
How you get fired?
So my boss was this brother who I will not even honor by naming him.
Okay.
He had a little ass chain and a high booty. Okay. And he had a poster of Condoleezza Rice. And he would send us memos with intros from different generals. Like, there would be like a memo with like a paragraph from General McCarthy and Norman Schwarzkopf. I'm like, this is hip hop, nigga. Why am I having to deal with this? And he came into my studio. Well, the first time we ever met, I went to dap him and he said, keep it corporate.
Whoa.
So that was our very first interaction. I went to, and he said, keep it corporate. I said, okay. Remember, I'm 21.
Right.
Okay. Then a week later, he came into my studio and he said, so, I just wanted you to know that I know that you're spoiled and I'm going to expose you.
Huh?
And I'm 21 and I'm in New York, right?
Yeah.
So my instinctual response to that is I have to prove him wrong. And my way to prove him wrong is I have to pull him in, you know? I have to show him, no, like,
Right.
I'm Amanda. Like, I'm not spoiled. I've worked really hard for all of this shit. Like, get out of here. So I spent the next 2 years really doing my best to make shorty swing my way, so to speak. Not in a romantic way, but in a professional way. So I'm showing up early. I'm staying late. You know, I'm doing all the interviews. Everybody knew me at Sirius because I am a true full-fledged hip-hop head. You know what I'm saying? So they knew that when they brought their artists there, like, it's going to be a real interview. It's not just going to be some canned that they get everywhere else. So I got really cool with the radio execs, etc. So, you know, and then at one point in time, so once I went on tour with Flowetry, he flipped. He flipped because he wanted to be a star. And I was like, in his mind, I guess, getting stardom. So once I went on tour with Flowetry, I was like, oh, I could record on tour. And he just was not let it happen. Once I came back from the Flowetry tour, it was never cool again.
No, right.
Never cool again. And he started doing weird stuff like lying about people coming to the show, you know, to the station. And so I remember at the time I was seeing Lupe. And Lupe hit me and was like, why am I coming to the radio station? I'm not going to interview with you. And, you know, he don't know that. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, why is Lupe Fiasco coming to the radio station, but he's not interviewing with me? He's like, well, how did you even know he was coming? You don't need to know how I know that. Yeah. The question is, why are you keeping me out? Yeah, like, why are you keeping me out? And he said, you needed to give other people a chance. Mind you, I'm not stopping anybody else.
Right. But if they want to interview with you, they want to interview with you.
But also the way Sirius is set up, as you know, they're going to interview with a myriad of people.
Right.
So I am not in any way an
You're not the only one they're interviewing with, yeah.
He's just trying to keep them from interviewing with me.
Right.
I remember Hove came and he was just like sitting in the lobby and I had come into work and I was like, what are you doing? You just sitting here? He was like, yeah. I was like, you want to do an interview real quick? I got a studio. He's like, yeah, no problem. So we go do the interview. They tried to fire me because they said I interviewed Jay-Z without clearance. Now, you know.
They should have been applauding you.
And it was pre-recorded. So, like, if you didn't want to use the interview, you didn't have to use the interview. But they tried to say that I was, like, stepping outside of, you know, the protocol.
But it aired on their station. It wasn't like you aired it somewhere like it was like, I got this interview, I'm going to put it on my IG page, I'll put it on my Facebook page. It aired on there. So
there's a book called The Gifted Adult.
Yeah.
And in this book, within the first 2 pages, they give 2 examples of adults who are gifted, and it shows up in their overachievement. It shows up in their type A, you know, assessment of things, personality, right? It shows up in their ability to show up. And this becomes a problem at their jobs because people start to feel like they're outworking them. Mm-hmm. People start to feel like they're outdoing them.
Right.
And then it becomes, you think you're better than me.
Yes.
So this is the dynamic I have experienced in many places. So whereas you said, oh, they should be applauding you. Mm-hmm. I texted Hove on my T-Mobile sidekick, because that was the time. And that just lets you know how old we are. And I was like, hey, they're trying to fire me for interviewing you. And he said verbatim what you said. He said, well, not verbatim, but he said they should be promoting you. But notice, who are the overachievers in this conversation? See how all the overachievers had the same response?
Right.
No, I'm in the way. I'm in the way. I'm doing too much. And I'm a girl. I'm a woman. I'm doing too much. Shut the
Okay.
That's what they think. That's what a lot of the energy is. A lot of the energy is shut up, and even if you won't let me, at least make me think.
I got a chance.
Let me think. I remember Green Lantern telling me, you know what your reputation is? That you are hard to fuck over and even harder to fuck. And I was like, my mother, I'm sure, is very proud. But that was, so, you know, at Sirius, so what ended up happening was I went to HR and shared with them, this is before I knew that HR, see the game that you be talking about, that I didn't know that the HR ain't for you, it's for them. So I went to HR like, oh, listen, I'm having trouble with my superior. You know, he's not very kind. And I'm thinking that they're going to set me up to like a solution. Baby, they said from now on, you will not speak to him. You will speak to this other person who will relay to him.
Wow.
So I'm like, I mean, that's not like a solution, but I guess, you know. So now I do this for a year. Now I'm dating Pusha T. As you can see, that rappers I've dated are very great MCs because I have high quality.
You got.
That was 2.
Let me say, I don't, you know. I'm glad you shared that information, but.
Well, I think it's valid, and shout out to Virginia, his beautiful wife and their beautiful son.
Right.
Because we grow up.
Yeah.
You know, we grow up, and I think it's important that we acknowledge that people have like full lifespans.
Yeah, people have past. People have dated other people that people might know.
You know, and I just feel like if I'm who came before you, you know, I'm a good track record. Yeah. Like, so I remember I got invited to the MTV Music Awards.
Right.
By Push's manager. Mm-hmm. They were like, we're going to be out here. Let us know if you want to come. Now if you have someone who's on radio and they have a hip hop show and they can go to the MTV Music Awards, wouldn't you say,
you send them,
head on out there, bring a DAT machine and a mic, see how many interviews you can get.
Right.
So I tell the person that I have to talk to the boss, I want to go. Can we find someone to cover my shift? He says yes. He finds someone to cover my shift. He says, your shift is covered. You can go. I head out there. While I'm out there, I get a call from my boss saying, you going to the MTV Music Awards is an example of severe insubordination. And so we will be terminating your contract. I said, but I followed the protocol.
Got someone to cover my shift.
I spoke to this other person. He said, well, you were supposed to speak to me. Well, not according to human resource. LOL, the person in the back who said, yeah. So I said, well, not according to human resources. He said, well, according to me. So I then went back to.
You didn't get no interviews? At least get the interviews and keep them for yourself?
I didn't even have a DAT machine.
Oh, okay.
But I went back to New York and they fired me. And then I went on MySpace and I said, you know, I did like an announcement, like, you know, you won't be able to hear my show anymore. It's really unfortunate that my boss, you know, who is a black man, just didn't feel like it wasn't necessary for him to protect me in this situation. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And I hope that I can create other ways, you know, to reach y'all. He saw that post, used it, and had me banned from Sirius for 7 years. He said that post was an indication of my, like, wanting to come back and, like, harm him. That little chain high booty. Get you every time. Get you every time. But you know what? That situation speaks to a number of situations where people holding me to a standard they don't hold them. So it was like, I'm gonna treat you any old way, and you just need to take it. You just need to accept it. And I don't know when this happened, Shannon, but even within the zeitgeist now, it's like I am expected to just take whatever is given to me and shut the fuck up. Yeah. And I don't understand that. No matter what jobs I've had, if I speak on it, it becomes she's complaining. It's like, well, I'm expressing my experience. Right. And if you haven't noticed, remember I told you, I'm just giving you this happened, then this happened, then this happened. I'm not speaking to what they thought. I'm not speaking to how they made me feel. I'm just telling you these are the series of events. And you can judge for yourself. Right. But ultimately, this idea that like I am somehow not allowed to have struggle, like I'm not allowed to have a bad experience without there being this doubt painted on me.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party because you know we like to do something before two something.